All right. Here we go again. Buckle up. Rough roads ahead. I gotta turn this down a little bit. Testing one, two, three. Testing still a little loud. Testing one, two, three. Testing. Let me get that down one more notch. Woo. Testing one, two, three. Testing. I guess that'll be good enough. I'm gonna move this a little bit away from my mouth. It'll probably work better. There's a lot to talk about. So here's something from a personal experience. People say things about all sorts of things, especially when you get to different religions. Right? But in this particular case, with Tulsi Gabbard and all that, one of the things that jumps out that they all had to go prostate when he walked in the room. Now, you'll find bowing in Vaishnava Hare Krishna to be everywhere. Now, Srila Prabhupada, when he was here, he tried to explain some of it because he heard the criticism. And he said, look, we don't believe God is that statue. We believe God is everything. But for our focus, for our devotional focus, we focus on that because we know God is within it, because God is within in all things. So it's kind of just a devotional prop. And I don't mean to belittle it, but what it does is it teaches people to take care of that thing. Just in reality, I'm going to get back to something that he didn't even know. I don't think he knew this part. On this planet, we have different religious systems. And God knows there's a credit system here. It's false, it's satanic, it doesn't work. But God installs a religion, and people that normally wouldn't have any credit begin to obtain credit for a better life from that religious system. Now, the religious systems are totally upside down, so it's not really happening that way, the way it should be. All right, let me look here. I have to turn it down again. So when you're in the Hare Krishnas, they have all these people, the Vaishnavas, they have all these people that are called gurus. So apparently Tulsi Gabbard had a guru. But one thing about bowing is I've watched guru after guru bow to everyone else. So it's kind of this reciprocal thing. It's not this, oh, I worship you as a human. You're to respect the person, but if that guru isn't bowing back at you, then they haven't learned anything yet. I've watched them; they just be walking, very humble gurus, kind of swami, kind of teacher. Actually, guru means master, teacher. That same thing. Now, again, Jesus was a master, a teacher. When he was there were other masters, other teachers. So again, Jesus was considered a guru when he was on the earth initially. But again, it's rabbi, teacher type of thing. And again, I think Rabbi Sneerson attained that level of respect within his organization. It's very similar, I guess, to his initial, what initially happened. I think things happened after he passed on that altered some of the perception. That happens in every religion I've ever seen in modern times. Srila Prabhupada, it happened after he left. It happened after Yogi Bhajan left. Like Srila Prabhupada would say that something you say in Vaishnavism, Hare Krishna, is I'm the biggest fallen person, I'm the biggest sinner. To remove that idea that you need to judge anyone else. So later, he was just saying that. He's not really the biggest sinner. Like they had no concept of the fact that you don't judge other people, and the way to remove that judgment of others is to admit that you are something worse. The same thing. Yeah, Jesus did the same thing. You said that he was the most fallen. So one of the things that to understand, again, this guy may do it, but probably hasn't. It sounds like it's a personality worship thing versus a Vaishnava thing. You can get lost in that theory within Vaishnava Hare Krishna. You could believe that that's what's going on, But when you meet, and there are probably here and there, you'll find a couple. That's how I know. But most of them that you meet, they want to reciprocate. There was an instruction by one of Srila Prabhupada's disciples. I forget his name. And one of the discussions that we had, and he was in Florida, and he lived there. He said that it's our service that we have to let you do that. He goes, this is part of what we do. It's not like I want you to like think of me as master, guru, teacher, this personality. But what I have to do is I have to allow you to serve me because it's part of this process. So like you could tell he felt bad. He's like, okay, this really isn't me. I'm not like this. And it isn't like there's anything toward going on. It's just, or untoward, whatever it is. Right? I don't know if I spelled it right. Did I spell it right? Untoward, I think. Right. I'll have to look it up. Or maybe it is toward. I'll look it up later. So again, this guy, he just, he said, look, there's a progression that we go through in life. And at this point, I have to allow, because he wants to do it. He does do it, but he wants to be the hands-on guy. He wants to be the guy that's doing what they're doing, but now he has to be the other guy. Right. So it isn't, some of them are wealthy. I mean, it isn't a matter of wealth or anything like that. I understand that some of them, because the wealthy Indian people always, want them to have money and have them have a good life. So they're always giving them money. He's the guy. One of the guys is the guy that built Prabhupada's palace in West Virginia. He would always, a group of people would come up and he'd be walking and thinking or whatever. And next thing you know, he'd be on the ground bowing to everybody out of respect, And it's again, respect for creation, respect of the creator, and respect of creation, respect of the soul, and respect of the super soul. So again, that's really what that is. So again, when I saw that, I was like, yeah, and it may have nothing to do with her, but it doesn't sound like he understands the bigger picture. Right? So I've been around enough gurus of Hare Krishna Vaishnava to know that it's not about them, and that's what you should see. I mean, they get a lot of followers, a lot of people. Oh, you're so wonderful, but their whole outlook is what it is, or what I say it is. It's not really about them. And again, everybody in a moment of weakness may make it about them, when you're up there long enough. But as far as she goes, I don't know. I don't know enough about her. She does say some strange things. Well, the idea is this. The Trump administration is going to take a hard right turn. The Biden administration took a hard left turn. Now, you have to understand there's people everywhere. Some people went left a little bit. Some people went right a little bit. Some people go this way. There's a law. I've said this for decades. You just operate within the law and expect everybody else to operate within the law. If you change the law, obviously you're going to change a couple laws. I don't think you can change all that many because it's been tried before. The courts will not allow them to go past a certain point. That's already, with the Meadows thing, it's already obvious. Right? They timed that to let you know. They have Trump's back because, as government people, as judges, as applying the law, they believe it should be a certain way, and they told you they believe it should be a certain way. So again, you could say to a certain degree they have Trump's back, but they don't have Trump's back. That's the part that they want you to understand. That we may have taken care of Trump for whatever ideological, political, judicial reason, but you're in safe hands. We work with people our whole lives. If it wasn't for the everyday Democrat or the everyday Republican, we wouldn't be here where we are. So it's not a matter of politics at that level. The government employees protect it. They've been protected. They need to be protected. They're like, well, why are they protected? So somebody like you can't come in there and mess up the government. Because what you'll do is you'll get rid of everybody that does the work, and there'll be nobody left to do the work. Just a bunch of political hacks laughing. And they make millions of dollars for nothing. No, President Trump committed a crime. There is a crime there. It's left, wherever land. I'm thinking that what I'm receiving is Biden might pardon Trump before he leaves. They're weighing whether they should leave it out there because if he goes too crazy, it's still an influence operation. Well, you're the one who committed the crime. It's still out there. You haven't been adjudicated. Right. So they can pressure him that way. Thank you, Larry. Or do you pardon him and just get the whole thing over with? Well, Mike Lee can only go so conservative. The law requires him to stay within a certain framework. And that's what you all should realize. Well, because no matter who the attorney general is, they're only going to be able to go as far right as the law allows, and it doesn't matter who it is. But again, there's another part of this where the attorney general protects all of this from the deep state. All that Matt Gaetz doesn't know what it really is to begin with. He thinks it's just a political opponent. That's the first part. The second part is he can't. He'll be manipulated. It's just there's too much happened in his life that will cause that manipulation. He's not capable. I'm just telling you. I already seen it. They get him to jump around a little bit. Again, it happens to the best of us. Mike Lee, he probably has something they could use, but it's not going to get him anywhere. So it actually the deep state's probably trying to get you to put Matt Gaetz in there. Go have fun mucking that up for the next 4 years or as long as he stays. So again, it's just he can want to protect you, but he can't. He'll actually get you in trouble, and that's what they hope. You're not absolutely protected from that. You already see the senators have trouble with a certain level of corruption, or not corruption, but a certain level of issue. I guess we could just leave it at that. Right. Well, I'll tell you right now, there's a lot of people that want Vance president, not Trump. So again, you have to fight that too. I told you that was going to happen anyway, before it even happened. And when I think of assassination, that's what I was wondering. Like, is it actually a right-wing conspiracy to kill Trump? Right. So that Vance would take over. So again, I wouldn't see Mr. Vance being any part of that. But again, that is what it is. Now, she did grow up in a personality. Now, as far as what appears to be a closeness between Trump and Tulsi, it could just be the camera catching a fraction of a second that looks weird. But also, women are women. I mean, you're going to hold Trump to a higher standard than you hold Biden, than you hold whoever else. So women will sometimes get closer to a man, and that's shame on Tulsi if she did, just to get that, that extra, lift in life. If you make Trump feel okay, touch him a little close, and next thing you know, you have something. Next thing you know, you're DNI. So again, it is what it is. I don't know what it is. Do I condemn it? Well, that's human nature, and it happens. I already explained to you for years this has been happening in our government. Well, the idea is, like, say Trump has sins. Trump has felonies and sins. What is he going to do for the people? Is he really going to do it? Or is he going to just play a game? So again, I'm a little confused with what Elon's doing. There's a side note here. So I thought he needed subsidy against the Chinese vehicles. We can't do a tariff because once we start tariffing everything, it causes inflation. It'll be within 2 years visible, probably this time within a year. Well, the problem is they look at the index. They don't look at the overall pricing of everything. discretionary spending will go up right away. And that's inflation. It is going to leave you less. If you want something, it's going to leave you less to buy food. So not only is food up, everything else is going to be up. When everything else is just starting to settle down. Now he'll probably go Biden, or Democrat, Soros. That's it. Democrat, Soros. And it might work for a while with an influence operation. So let me get to influence operations. You may find influence operations benefit you, but you have to be careful as to what you allow on influence operations. And the fact is, you need the influence operation to benefit you because influence operations have harmed you. So it's one of those sin for a season things. And again, sin for a season, 2 years, Democratic Party, Senate and House, very easy. Those people are not hardcore conservatives. You just got them to buy into the fact that Trump might do a better job. And Trump actually did come out to get some of that vote. He came out and pulled himself center. So again, Mike Lee would be a little bit further right than Trump was articulating. But then again, he can only do what he can do. You're not going to take away people's condoms. It's just not going to happen. I mean, you shouldn't even be that focused on condoms because you have more than 5,000 starving out there. And you as a Christian, quote unquote, you're going to take away people's condoms to make 10,000 people starving. That's really how God sees it. So once you figure, it's like flying to Mars with all the shit that's going on this planet. I mean, nothing against Elon. I've thought about it in my life. I didn't figure we'd need to do it for another billion years or something. I researched it. So again, it is what it is. So as a Christian, there's more important things to do than what you're focusing on. Well, that's your big claim to fame. You're all Christians. Well, their idea is that if they're having sex, they shouldn't be able to have like a condom or something like that because it allows for birth control. They should suffer the consequences of having too much sex. Is really what I'm receiving, and that's not well. That's not well at all. You should allow people just to protect themselves that much, and then you can work. The idea is the scriptures tell you to be more not influence operation because that has like a certain level of force and deception, but you should be able to just by the nature of being influence people in that direction. It's this idea of beating people up to move them in that direction is corrupt. Well, God can see the future. So God knows that if you take away people's condoms and contraceptives, there's going to be more of these people having hellish lives okay, I'm not into abortion at all. But just kind of look at it with God's eyes. So an abortion, you consider it a murder, that's fine. It's for a second, right? Or a few minutes at the most. But when that baby's born, based upon the same people they're saying it shouldn't happen, that the baby should be born, there's 60, 70, 80 years of torture. So, the answer is to destroy the planet, and I believe that's what God's doing. It's not my choice. I can witness what's happening, and God can show me why I should witness it that way. But, the rest is whatever. God's business. So, influence operations. We need to protect, and again, this isn't political, this isn't ideological, this is just government business, national business. And that's where we need to get to. Because influence operations are the reason Trump had to engage in influence operations. Otherwise, he would have done 8 years and it would have been done. And I don't know at what point those influence operations began that slippery slope. We may not even have had COVID had the world carried itself a certain way. It's just the way because it would have been some sort of lucky thing. It would have just not made it as big as it did. 2 people would have got sick. It would have been isolated. It would have been done with. It's just when you curse and hate, these things happen. And again, if you're cursing somebody through God, it's different than cursing somebody directly. Because God probably, will either carry it out or not carry it out, and probably wouldn't cause COVID. But it would allow COVID based upon what? Based upon your will, all of you. There's wills that go against God in every religion on the planet. Usually in the name of religion or their religion over another religion. Well, it's all metaphysical. So people are gay because of metaphysics. So you just clean up the metaphysics, if that's what your scripture tells you to do, and then they're just not gay. But it's not like something physical. Like something's probably physical right now that's causing a little bit of gayness, I guess you could call it, and causing transgender. Now, is it overcomable in a person's lifetime? I don't know. Could have been something that happened in the womb. I don't know. But again, if we go back far enough, walking around this body that dies, that's metaphysical. And the planet may be heading, it's a weird way to look at it, but it's not a weird way. It's actually the real way to look at it. If this planet's destroyed, it's no big loss. It's great. You'll never have this kind of shit again. Right. So again, the healing may actually be working. And once we're all healed and all creation is healed, then we go back to that original wonderful form of the soul. But you can have form like this. You can be a person walking around, but it won't die. It won't get injured. That's just the reality. This is some failed thing. Been failed the whole time. There's no success here. Because it has to fail first for there to be a success. That's not, a million people die. Oh, he succeeded. Now, no longer is a million people being killed in a gas chamber. Well, it's just foolhardy to put Matt Gaetz in there because he's not utilizing. You can't depend on. You might have a contact in the Justice Department. Believe me, you can't count on any of them. You need to get somebody from the outside in that you can trust, that can move the machine. Like Mike Lee, be like, you're shitting me. Get out of here. Ain't real. Matt Gaetz, like, yeah, really? What can we do about that? Oh, commit this crime and we'll be okay. Oh, he committed a crime. I'll testify. You're not going to get away with it. You got the Senate and the House, but you're not going to get away with it. Believe me. See, and then they're always trying to take Matt Gaetz. So you need something settled. You need to settle something. No, this idea that Matt Gaetz is there to take the focus off of Tulsi's BS. That's an influence operation right there. So again, I'll give the other, theoretically, the other side some information. Oh, he tried to pull my microphone out after I said that. Right, that's an influence operation. There's no reason to fight that fight, and I can't even. You're so stupid for doing it because you brought attention to Matt Gaetz. You should have had this planned already during the election. That as soon as you should have sat down in your meeting with Larry, if Larry was in the meeting, you say as soon as the election is done, Matt Gaetz is appointed that next day transition team leader. And then he goes off to there, and they're like, okay, we got him out of our hair in the house. We want him out of here. He's out of here. I would say they would probably just bury the investigation at that point. Like I said, it takes time to overcome that kind of stuff. Now, there's definite evidence that the future Attorney General, theoretically, is in places where they're not supposed to be. I was told that all of the information will come out if they press it. So, and then at a certain point, you take him into the White House, and they're not going to complain about that because it's your territory. You're trying to insert him into other territory. You don't need the battle because it'll always end up being about Matt Gaetz. So again, it's like I said, it's a distraction. And the guy I don't agree with the guy in Federalist yelling at, because the guy that runs Federalist obviously committed some crimes in his life, or he wouldn't be running the Federalist. He may say it's politics, but right. Again, he's just an operator, I guess, doing his part. Well, I don't believe we need to go to that level. It's almost like the gang warfare. I think we just need to say that it's just not going to work, and then move on. Mike Lee comes up. I don't know why, but his name keeps coming up as being the person that's capable to do what you need to have done. And then it's not only for you; it's for everybody. Well, we need when the FBI says there's influence operations for Trump. Well, there's other influence operations also. They run a few. What we need to do is we need to get it past that. Most people don't know what they're talking about. What an influence operation is. And I'm not speaking about an influence operation that causes you to buy Coca-Cola. If that's what it does, then that's what it does. There are influence operations that are detrimental to the United States. In fact, I know a lot of conservatives are down on people being trans and gay. That's an influence operation. But the reason that you're so much against it and the reason they're so much for it is the same people running competing influence operations for disruption of the United States. Now, there could be a criminal enterprise of like a cartel. It could be Russia, and it's probably all of the above. Because if they focus you on that, then you lose focus on the rest. See, that's another part of having the wrong person in there, because we're never going to get focused. It's always a political battle versus that battle to save the children, this battle to save people from narcotics use. So it's more of a what I would say a self-realization organization, but is it real? I don't know. Just a lot of those end up being, personality worship, and that's it. It's not. It's got some Vaishnava stuff, but it just seems like it's too far away from really where they are. Now, I would say that they would be insulted if you called it that. Now, there are offshoots of ISKCON and the other one, I forget the other community, and they would, they might accept it, but it's just not really it. Again, you could probably call it a form of Hinduism, but again, if it gets too far out there, then it's not. Again, there's progression, and progression is built into every religion. Well, in real Hinduism, there's allowance for trans, there's allowance for gay people, because it's just the nature of metaphysics. Again, they're not like totally for it in some of the religions, but it's just not something they need to focus on. Do you understand that? Like, yeah, protect the children, make sure everybody's safe, but well, because and I'll get to this now. So gender gender dysphoria exists. Some of the cases are just independent cases that occur based upon the occurrence of gender dysphoria. The Democrats have not moved far enough to find out what that is. There has to be some physiological things that could be identifiable. That's what I believe. Could be a chemistry, could be anything, endocrinology, anything. Could be several different causes for different people, or different causes for different people. But we already know that I can already see it, that there is Munchausen by proxy from the parents. We consider Munchausen by proxy. Again, you can't take somebody that simply believes their child has gender dysphoria and is simply reacting based upon medical advice. You can't take them and say that's Munchausen by proxy. Munchausen by proxy is a whole series of operations that influences the child's psychology based upon, in that particular case, some people go as far as poisoning their children. But I identified psychological and sociological Munchausen by proxy years ago. So if they're influencing their child and then saying, "Oh, I don't know how this happened," and I do realize that's happening in some of those cases. That's what that is. You can't prosecute somebody with Munchausen by proxy simply because they're seeking medical advice for gender dysphoria for their child. You can attempt to protect the children from permanent changes. I don't know how far that's going to go, but again, it's probably, if you do the right type of research, you'll be able to do that. So the idea is you don't even have to create a new law for some of the cases. You simply need to investigate what's actually going on. It's hard to sometimes charge a Munchausen by proxy, and you have to valid evidence. Not because the father says, "Oh, the mother's forcing the kid to this." You have to have the evidence that it takes. So what you do is you have a neutral mind. You take the evidence in those Munchausen by proxy cases, or the required evidence and elements to the crime, and then you apply it to what's going on there. You'll find some people are not prosecutable, and you'll find others are prosecutable. I mean, the parents' influence could be as young as 20 years old or less, even. We don't know. So some of that issue that causes gender dysphoria is a parental issue. Right? We agree. I agree, sir. So we need to look at that. Thank you, sir. So what your job is to actually research it further so we understand better what the entire process is. That's probably the first thing you should do. The court, what I got from the court, and I may be wrong, but what I got from the court is essentially all of the data they've seen, that there's nothing that the conservative has to change anything at this point, or not anything, but change it too far from where it is. Again, if you push right, something's going to happen. So you have to do the studies and all that, and RFK is talking about saving money, but this is where the money is. We have to spend some of your money if you want to get to the truth. And again, you may find that it's not going to go anywhere. That the given data is all there is. The answer is not drugging people with Valium so they won't feel like they want to be transgender, because I think that's where some of them are. Well, just they're nutbags. We'll just load them up with drugs. Of course, not going to accept that. But again, this is the problem If you approach the cases in the wrong way, the court's just going to shut you down. You make a lot of noise and get nowhere. Well, here's an example. An attorney, maybe a Republican guy, right wing, been zealot his whole life to destroy everybody that was sinful in the Justice Department. Comes up to Matt Gaetz, the Attorney General, and shows him a case. And, okay, yeah, we'll go with it. Shows it to Mike Lee. Like, we're not taking this to the Supreme Court. What are you, crazy? That's the difference. And no matter how hard he wants everybody to be, Mormon, he's not going to take a case like that before the Supreme Court. So you're going to have to work for the information to take those cases to the court. But Matt Gaetz doesn't understand that. And again, that's the only name I see that can actually do the job. Now, the rest, Trump's like, I understand Trump's thinking. He's got Comey-itis, They said that Mike Lee's going to be Comey. I don't think he's Comey. I don't think he'll do you that way. But you have to be careful. But Trump himself has to be careful. Again, the systems. I don't even know how they get where they get. The system's built a certain way, and you can infer something. You can say it a certain way, but you have to time it right. Right. And you have to say it right. And you can't insert yourself. You have to let the process play out. If you didn't do anything with Matt Gaetz, and you did what I said, you could have went to the Attorney General at a certain point and said, look, Matt hasn't caused any trouble that I know of. And, it's that investigation is, it's an old investigation, and, he deserves to have a better life. And, so you just say it like kind of neutrally and then walk off. Don't be so involved in it, and the Attorney General will take care of it. But you can't do it now. He's under investigation from the House. And, obviously, well, what you did is you timed it wrong, so now it becomes something. It has life again. Obviously, they were going to slam him and put him out. That's what I believe. So there's nothing wrong with his escape. It's just how you went about it. You're just, okay, he's going to escape and he's going to be Attorney General. What? But if you said, okay, he's going to be my transition guy, we got rid of him. Going with Trump. And then they wouldn't say anything in the White House again. So again, I don't understand why you don't understand how government works. So you may be an influence operation. That's what I believe. I believe you're all being influenced a certain way. Agree, Larry. Thank you, friend. We got to heal this guy. That's where thank you, friend came from. That's our spirit. That's God's with it. It's a cue that God gives me. Somebody thanks me, and then I know I have to heal them. I had to heal 3 people with that one. Thank you. It could be God thanking me. I don't know. Could be. Again, there's no conversation metaphysically without God. I mean, Satan does the same thing, but for disruption, and then God can cause thoughts to move back and forth between people. Intuition, whatever you call it. Well, yeah, I pulled up. What was his name again? Curse me, forget him. God's showing that to me with this. That's pretty weird. They forget. They what they do is they curse me to forget him, and then I'm gonna go pull him up now. Give me a sec. find it. You got to find his name. Yeah, I know Holland a little bit, but I'm not going to find it. I have to go to my X page. I understand all of it now. I'll get back to you in a second. Hello. You still there? Yeah, you're there. Okay, so the Lord allowed them to block me from Munson, his name, because they cursed me never to remember him again. But I had Holland. I have to look up Holland and maybe think in the direction of Mr. Holland, Jeffrey Holland, one of the apostles of the current church. I was in Christianity and a lot of their stuff. I was connected when I was asleep, mostly. I may have actually grew up with them somewhere in the mind. So definitely Munson and I are friends, spiritual friends, and definitely I know his wife somehow spiritually. Again, you can't know everybody you know when God takes your spirit and puts you across the earth. Right. And I didn't know anything about Munson's preaching. I just had a connection with him, and I just recently was. Again, that's how this all unfolds generally in life for somebody like me, I guess. I don't know if there's anybody else like me, but Hashem, God will open certain things up at certain points, but then show you, like it shows me why Munson and I are together. No, it's just crazy life. They ain't let me live my life. I mean, there's other people, I imagine. It's not only me. But I'm the one that realized everything. Because God, that's all I can say. Heal these people. So, he just Munson wanted to remind Mike Lee about a few things. But again, the thing got me. I'm sitting there, oh, ow, ooh, ow, ooh. Again, that's life. So again, they're people, and we protect the people. You got to if somebody's a Republican operator and doing the wrong thing, you got to spank them. You got to get them to stop. Right? Democrat operator, same thing. Independent operator, same thing. So that's where we got to go. We have to protect the mind of our leaders, and we have to do that, with SPY. So Mr. Ratcliffe, Mr. Waltz, essentially, Tulsi at this point, the Attorney General need to work together, not only protecting from external threats, they have to protect it from internal threats that it appear to be reacting to influence operations. So again, the idea that the Justice Department can't look at, I think Mr. Ratcliffe probably and Waltz understand this. There's a difference between saying that all Catholics that are pro-life are criminals than saying we're noticing a radicalization in this community and we need to monitor it. And what it's really doing, to a certain degree, they can stop somebody from actually committing crime. I know they use that falsely, and that's the problem I would have with the program. You may have somebody that's in a church and it's got a cell of people contemplating something. And if it's done right, the psychology will say they're going to move to the next step, and then we're going to have to arrest them. They can actually stop them from being arrested. But if you encourage them too far, then you get, again, January 6th was a violation of law. So again, you have to get to manage the country right. You have to get out of the politics and just get back to law. Now, I do believe some of those sentences were a little bit long. Initially, you actually took my talking points. Initially, I believed it was a scam. I hadn't seen the video. Well, when you get to that level, you know you're doing something wrong, and you got to realize that. So get away from the politics when you're running the country. Nothing wrong with politics for whatever purpose you're using it for. But when we look at things like that, we realize there are a couple of things that we can critique it. Again, an after action review, I bring that up a lot. So you look at the January 6th prosecutions, you do an after action review. I believe when Trump goes in there and pardons those people, that will have served its purpose, those sentences. Again, I do realize that you probably operated the judges and made them angry. So again, that should teach you not to do that. Don't use your spies on the judges. So again, this is the other things. Like, well, we use the spies on the judges and it gets us prosecutions and big sentences. Well, don't use it. Just get away from it. It's a sin for a season. It's an addiction. The problem is we don't want the politicians to start, you see, they should have never been in prison, and just drop it. Once they get out of jail, once they get pardoned, just drop it. There's no reason to encourage them to do it again or anything like it. And if you feel like you need to do that, that's probably an influence operation. Yeah. I hate this. I don't know what it is this time of year. It just causes that. Again, I'm walking. It's probably not. It's probably not prudent to walk and broadcast, but hey, somebody's got to do it. Well, what I think it really is I'm using a lot of, not a lot, but I use magnesium, and sometimes because my body is unequally unbalanced, unbalanced. It's tight in areas and not tight. I need massages actually, but the magnesium helps relax that. But then like my stomach starts relaxing too much, and then burp. How you doing? Thank you, Mitch. Yep. So again, people can talk to me from the afterlife, all sorts of stuff. I got to get to the other thing that Hashem God wanted me to. There is no real time and space. It's the one thing in Hare Krishna that made no sense to me. But I learned to just accept what's there. Is the fact that Krishna, which is their name for God, can't alter time and space. Now, physically, here on this planet is correct. Although, right now, we are all affecting time and space for all time based upon our thoughts, our actions. It's just how metaphysics interacts. Now, if you're just a single person with not much money and all that, you're probably not the snake in the garden. Trump could be the snake in the garden. He's got enough money. So theoretically, what happened is groups of people on this planet caused Adam and Eve to fall. And what I'm understanding, it's this time period. That's why another reason why the earth is being destroyed. So Adam and Eve are in some other place called the garden in the scriptures. Like I was on Venus. And the snake was manifesting the spirit of this time period, and it caused them to fall. Now, you have to understand that's one of the big things of this time period is causing people to fall. The gotcha. So I'm not saying Trump did that. I believe there's a snake in Trump's life, caused Trump to fall. I brought that up before. And I believe that snake designed an escape route for Matt Gaetz that didn't make any sense. Makes no sense. Well, because if the Russians wanted to manipulate Trump, or I'm going to say Trump, manipulate the entire country, because Russians do manipulate the Biden administration also. They would put Matt Gaetz in there, more manipulatable than the average attorney general. And it's a big task. Again, I don't know how Matt Gaetz would do it. What you have to understand is you can't just, again, if you're going to purge every employee that won't do what Matt Gaetz says, you're insane. You can't do it, because they'll have you putting everybody out that they manipulate into that, and then manipulate you further by telling you they're the person that can handle this for you. Like, you don't know that. Matt Gaetz doesn't know it. People like Mike Lee realize what kind of snakes are out there. Well, that's why he doesn't realize it in its entirety, because that's why I told you we need a program, a counter-influence program. First, the leadership, then the employees, and we need to move out to the public and help them understand what we're saying when we say there's an influence operation. Again, it comes down to some of the jargon that they wouldn't normally use, but your mind is not your own. Well, I'm sure Mike Lee's been involved in influence operations. Well, within the law, but still an influence operation. Right? So again, we need people to get their mind back. Well, because we can't get anywhere, because as soon as we get somewhere, then they cause the people's minds to shift. Now, there is something built in. This idea of going right, left, right, left, right, left is something that also comes from, I believe it's good if the government's not doing what it's supposed to. Right. But what the foreign operatives are doing is, when you go back to when all of you went, oh, we're bad, we shouldn't be these people. Like after January 6th, oh, we're horrible. The conservatives felt like they shouldn't have been conservatives. Or they lash out, oh, we ought to be conservatives. You can't stop us. They get a lot of different reactions from the influence operations. Right now, it's swung right. Now all the people, oh, we've been bad people. We shouldn't have been these people. It's resolved an influence operation. Now, some of you are like moving with bragging rights, but you're getting a little bit too far, and you're into destructive influence operation in the Republican Party. Right. But the Democrats did the same thing. So, we need to get somewhere in the middle a little bit. And I think that's what the people want. And with Trump, that's what they believe. Now, some people got real selfish, and they just want, I just want what I want taken care of. And it probably won't be taken care of because you got selfish. Well, I think one of the mistakes Kamala Harris made was reaching out to black people. It didn't work anyway. It backfired, really. Because what happens, all the white people, there she is, reaching out to black people. It's over. We're not going to have a job. That's really what happened. So, to bring that up a second, my brother would have went to Harvard, but for Chinese women. He lost out to Chinese women who got in there because of affirmative action. That's real. He ended up at Lehigh, which may have been better for his life. I don't know. But that's real. So again, there's pluses and minuses. There was some sort of affirmative action that year. I guess because we had a lot of Vietnamese and Chinese, and I wouldn't say China, Asian women, right? May have been Vietnamese or something. We had a big push. Because remember, we used to adopt. There was a lot of adoption back then. A lot of people, spill over from the Vietnam War and all that. So it was like 1980 or something. So affirmative action. He had better scores and all that, but it knocked him out because he wasn't Asian. He wasn't a minority. They called it minority back then. Again, Trump uses those terms, Hispanic, minorities. That's what we used to call it. Oh, how dare you say that? How dare you say that? It's just what we used to, the language we used to use. It's just like you didn't call people black for a while. Remember, it was like, oh, you called them black. Now we call them black today. So again, these are kind of could be influence operations. Again, Satan runs the biggest influence operation. So, and then God runs one also, but it's not too powerful on this planet. Because even the churches are with Satan. It's obvious, right? The big accusers accusing the nice people. I wouldn't call them saints, but nice people, day and night. So again, I told you the story of the. I wish I remembered it better, but it was pretty accurate. The transgender, the righteous transgender women. That's real. I'm like Thomas, down in Thomas, and then they come in. And how should have it? God set that up. The government tried to set me up, and God set it up so I'd see it. And I've Christians just have never, religious people have never said that to me in my lifetime. I think. Those are the only two people that said it. I mean, to say it once is one thing, but the next day, after having told them that I was having some sort of physical disability, to have that trans woman say, "I prayed for you last night. Have faith in God. God will heal you." It's like speaking to Paul. Saul ben Yamin. Saul of Tarsus. So again, we're not supposed to look at the physical and they go, well, that's a little bit too far not looking at physical. Not really. It's just your minds are blinded from the truth. And you don't like the truth, so you don't go to the truth. They are the victims in the scripture. Not all of you. You all are the victimizers to a certain degree. Well, not being allowed to live your birth gender on this planet is victimization by an evil energy or an entity. It's very difficult. But again, we're not living the life of Adam and Eve either. Even if we hit every benchmark of some scriptural requirement or of the scriptural requirements, these bodies are not those bodies. Again, Munson said it. Judge not lest. Actually, I love the way Munson did it. Munson and I must be pretty darn close because he goes, "Judge not," and he doesn't say, "Lest ye be judged," because that's not the reason you judge not. That's not the reason you judge not. So Munson knew that one. I don't know if he ever said it in his lifetime. Well, the scripture says, "Judge not, lest ye be judged." But if you're at that point of just saying, "I don't judge because I don't want to be judged," then you haven't grown to the real reason of judge not. But I found it nice that he just said judge not and didn't put the other part in there. Even if you can't feel it in your heart, in your bones, you don't feel like judge not, period, then you just keep saying it. Because if enough of us say it, everybody will get there. So that's how I know people are transgender, because people keep saying something else. But again, being on this planet and the existence of this planet is because people say something else. So the planet will be destroyed. I don't know how long man's going to live. I mean, the inhabitability or the habitability of this planet will not last probably more than a century. unless something lets it up. And that I don't know, the magnetic field I think is way off. But as it shifts, even though it isn't hitting that critical mass catastrophic point, it's probably changing things. No, I was not allowed to live my life. Not one bit. Again, I'm a nice person. I could have went out and met a million more people, but they would have been tortured until they no longer spoke to me. So I'm not going to do that. Because it's like being part of the watchman on the wall. And each one of these person, a lot of them, not each one, but a lot of them took money, and it's a major sin to have done what they did to me. So again, I'm not going to, as a watchman on the wall, I'm required not to cause others to fall if I can avoid it. You're not held responsible for anything you can't avoid. That's part of being given much and much expected. And that isn't all physical, it could be metaphysical. Well, I'll tell you today, if you're out there having sex, somebody did that to you. And probably it could be every church member in your community where you grow up. They didn't like your family, didn't like your parents because they didn't go to their church, or because they believed in food programs to feed people because they're conservative and they believe only the church gets to feed people, nobody in government. Jesus never said the government doesn't feed people. Jesus never said that. I know you'll be shocked, but he never said that. Yeah. In fact, anybody in the church that gets involved in government food programs and says they shouldn't be is actually crossing the line of church. There is a separation of church and state, but it's not what they've made it. Again, they went over the line, but there is a separation, and Jesus spoke about that. No, it just boggles the mind. Religious people coming along. Well, the government is not supposed to feed people because it's our money, and I'm a Christian. The government can reach people your church can't reach, and will feed people that you won't feed because you hate them. They're liberals, or they're Islamic. And Trump's about to suffer a big loss of Islamic support. Hopefully, he pulls it off. What you're not really speaking about peace. You're speaking about oppression. That oppresses Israel is peace because they're not killing people. Tell you there will be no peace when there's oppression. Hashem even says he would cause people to attack you. Why are you so successful? I've explained to you 100 million times that this is Satan's planet. You all sold out. That's why you're so successful. Again, the person with most amount of money is the one that's loved most by God. I mean, there are people who believe that because they have money. And they go to church. So God loves me because I'm rich. But Jesus never said that. And if you're Jewish, it requires a certain level of humbleness. What happens is a lot of Judaism is removed from Christianity, and Messianic Jews don't know it either. What's the important part? And again, a lot of it is also intuitive with Hashem. Right? Instead of rote, just doing what the tradition tells you to do, what learning just tells you to do. Because you're part of a clique, a club. Let's see, where am I? Am I over an hour? I'm over an hour, yay. There's a spiritual thing here. Oh, well. Could be the CIA. They have clouds of spirit. Hey, you! We're up here. We're broadcasting from Langley. No, this is spiritual. I just need another cup of coffee after that walk. It's just the idea to remember what you're actually supposed to be doing. And the rhetoric was fine. You got elected. Well, if you go too far in another direction, you'll be Richard Nixon. I guarantee it. And actually, I have senators in my mind saying we guarantee it. And they want, believe me, a lot of senators, yeah, they would rather have Vance, but that's not the reason. Right. Just don't go too far. Well, stay peaceful.